Welcome back to Spinning the Past. I came across this part in my knitting and I wanted to show you this is what you may come across in your knitting as well. So you're knitting along and all of a sudden you get this this part right in here, which is, you can see, is much thicker than what you were knitting and then afterwards. This is a clear sign of a join. And I wanted to show you what I do with such. So if you know anything about spinning, you know that things are kept together by twist. So what I am going to do is actually untwist this, and we're all going to discover what happens. Obviously, they were trying to join, but they made this spot that is really impossibly thick for this particular section that I'm knitting. So right there, it's still a 3-ply right here. I don't know if you can see it. 1, 2, 3. So I'm unspinning, untwisting, and we should be able to get right there. That came apart, that was joined in. This is the original yarn right here, 2-ply right there, right there. And I am going to come on to this end, this part of it, knowing that that stays there. Okay, so I found 1 and 2 here, 2 parts. I'm going to untwist this and make a come apart. Now, why would I do this? A couple of reasons. I could come back in here and do a proper Russian join. I'll kind of show you that if I choose to do it. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. So right here is where the end of it. So now I have 2 different sections. So this is a 2-ply. This is a 2-ply. This is from the old, and this is not a new. Normally we do 2 that Russian join. Let's say we're finishing at a 1 ball, and then we're starting another ball, but this one was at the end of 1 ball. And sometimes they do it, you know, because things break, things end, and they still need to make a ball, so they just kind of put them together. But for my particular purposes, I am not going to do that. When I talked about a Russian join, so if you can see, let's say I make this, untwist it. So I go back to so here's my 2-ply, and here's my 2-ply. So I have 4-ply. I hope you can see that. I could join, they overlap these, so that made a 4-ply, and going from 2-ply to 4-ply will make a really big, really unusual fat part, and I really don't want that on this. So I could do 2 things. One is, and I'm just untwisting this to actually check on the integrity. This is kind of thin right here. Checking on the integrity of this. Meaning, is it about to fall apart? And right here, it's really thin. And then I'll look over here. They should have very little integrity because this is a single, basically. This is barely spun single with a barely spun single that they ply together. And they actually kind of spin to make a 1-ply. Long story. I'm going to talk about Lopi yarns at a different time. But Lopis are typically a single ply, but these are double ply. So 2 ways. One is somewhere I have to get rid of. Now I could take this, knit it to the end, start knitting with this part where it's maybe a little bit more, see, right here the ply, the twist is very twisted, so it's kind of an uneven part of spinning there, I can just tell. because it should be even. The twist angle on this should be the twist angle there, and it's not. So it just kind of curls up on itself. If you ever had yarn that self-curls, that's kind of what's happening. So I'm just deciding kind of on the fly whether I will do a join or I will just finish this and then I will add in, start this as a separate, and then I can weave in the ends. And in this case, I may actually do that. If this were the start or very close to the beginning, I might spit splice it. But because it's coming to the end, I'm just not liking the characteristic of this. I'm not sure it will actually stick together the way I would want it to be. But let's say I did want to spit splice it. So we know that one thing that holds yarn together is twist. Another thing that holds yarn together is kind of how it microfelts. I'm going to get rid of that. I am just taking and making one length. See, these are different lengths, so that when they, if I were to join them up, we would actually be putting two of these together, and so it would be a 2-ply as we went along, trying to keep it all even so it's really all just a 2-ply. And what I would do, and what they say to do, is either you can lick your palms to get them moist, or you can spit, or you can like put it in your mouth. Sometimes I do that. And then I will do that action very rigorously. That friction will felt it. There's a micro felting. And that felting kind of locks in those fibers. They lock them together. Anybody who has felted a sweater, felt it, and that, you know, they kind of lock together. So I am just deciding what I'm going to do with this. And I'm seeing, I guess it'll be okay. I have to start another skein here really soon. So if I overlap this part, this is a 3-ply for just a little bit, and back here will be a 3-ply for just a little bit, like that much. It'll be a 3-ply for that length, which is doable. What I don't want is a 3-ply that long or a 4-ply that long. So the reason why we make take one shorter and the other one from the other one a little bit shorter is to stack them up. We're giving it a little haircut. We're giving a little haircut so we don't have 4, but we have something that could, so if I twist this, so that's making it making it a 3-ply if I spit splice it. Let me twist it the correct way. And that is the kind of the diameter it originally needs to be. This is too thin. It shouldn't be this thin. So at certain point in this whole process, this was getting less fiber in the spinning machine than it should have been getting to make it a consistent diameter or grist of it. And I know that I've been working with this a lot. That's how I know it. And I also know that to keep it together, they had to put more twist in it. I see that the twist angles, there's many more twists. It's like hyper twisted. Again, this is hyper twisting. So if you can see this, hyper twisting, that's hyper twisted thread. Okay? That's not necessarily a good thing. It should relax, especially for knitting yarn, should relax, should have enough twist, but not too much twist. And that more twist also means that it's a narrower diameter, which means it won't match what the diameter it should be. I hope this isn't terribly, I probably made a mess out of this explanation, but. So I'm gonna microfelt. if you don't want slime, if you don't want this, you don't have to do this. You can use some warm water. The thing is that you don't want it sopping wet. You just want it damp. Okay. So this is together, and that's fine. It's not going to be spun. It's going to be felted, which is a little bit different than spinning. Okay. So I would, if I went in here and I went in one direction, I would be actually spinning it, hand spinning it. You can definitely do that. But I'm happy with this because I'm knitting this. That means the yarn is going up and down and up and down and over and over and over and over and over. And then it's going to be kind of gripping on itself anyways. It's almost like weaving it again. So I'm going to go down and up. So when we knit, we're making loops, and then the next row, the loops come through it. And so that should give it enough stability in the final product that this should stick together as a knit piece. I'm just not very happy with this. There are times when I will actually spin it, but I'm not going to do that in this situation. I'm not. And like I said, you don't have to do this. You can just let the old one stop, unply it, let the old one stop, bring a new one on, and then afterwards you can weave them in. Perfectly fine. Okay. I just kind of deciding based on what I'm seeing here. And the spit splicing works with fibers that readily felt. So cotton does not readily felt. So this process would not work. You'd have to weave them in. Silk doesn't readily felt. You would have to weave them in. So, and also what's nice about Icelandic is that it's so grippy. It's so sticky. I guess that's what we kind of call it, sticky. It means it's got lots of the little shingles that are on there, and those little shingles catch on the other, like that barrel of monkeys that the one fiber, will grab onto the next, and the one underneath it will grab onto the next, and they'll hold each other. And so you need to understand what the characteristic of, let's say, this yarn, this wool is. What is its characteristics? And then you can decide, well, if I have a problem with the yarn itself, what are my possibilities I can do with it? This one, they kind of sloppily overlap these yarns to make a 4-ply. Going from 2-ply to 4-ply is really not what your project needs. Okay, you've been going 2-ply, 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 all of a sudden 4-ply. It's not very, it won't make your knitting consistent. But they need to use up all the fibers that they have been using, and that doesn't always conveniently match up to the international standards of the weight of yarn per yarn ball. So it's kind of a give and take with the producers and then the consumers of the wool. But if you can see, like I did, I saw, oh my gosh, it was getting really, really thick. And I just myself, I just kind of unspun it, unplied it. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? Is it merely that there were too many fibers in that section from singles? Or when I untwisted it, and you can tell when you untwist it because the plies come apart. Then okay. So this is actually become a 4-ply. Therefore, let's see if I can carefully untwist it, unply it, and I can take out those other 2 plies. Then I chopped off a shorter piece of one, a shorter piece of another. So I had a little tiny bit of overlap with the 3-ply and a little tiny overlap with the 3-ply, but we were back to 2-ply as the main ply grist or diameter. I hope this makes some sense to you. And if you have any questions, just pop them in the comments. And I will see you next time on Spinning the Basque.